Hello and welcome to the North Bank podcast. Yay!
Easy!
Well, my voice is gone and I wasn't even at the game. I did do a fair bit of shouting at the telly though, in fairness. But Stef, I think we'll look at the game, but we have to talk about the occasion. And seeing as you were there, what was that? What was that? I've seen it described as the best night since Arshavin Barcelona, or the best night at the Emirates ever. Where does it rate in Arteta's top 10 wins? Is it number one as manager? That is it number one? Is it number two? Is it number three? I've heard all these kind of conversations, and I am going to. We'll get into that, the context a bit later, but to begin with, it has to be just your raw emotion. How was it?
Actually, it was hard to comprehend because there was the typical patterns of the game where you message the group. We know producer Chris, who's not with us today, has got his catchphrase of "we'll rue these missed chances," and there was a little bit of that thought or feeling at half time. And then we just took off in the second half, but to the point where people just didn't know how to react. It was insane because it was the fact that it was the Champions League. It was a quarter-final. We were playing Real Madrid. And as
current holders,
record winners, a team full of, we've used the word aura, and there is a point at which you have to show the opposition respect and then maybe look past that. But they do have that. These absolute superstar names, especially up front. And we bossed it. We were brilliant. But the occasion, I definitely want to doff my cap. The club did a subtle thing, and I don't know if they've done it before, because I actually don't really go into the concourse at half time. I just not a drinker or anything like that, so I just tend to stay in my seat. Apparently, at half time, where they normally have the highlights of the half, nope. And sometimes they'll show the game live on the screens in the concourse, nope. There was just a message up saying, everyone has their part to play. Go watch the game. There was just something about, they knew. And we've talked about it before, this feedback loop. The players have all said, we love it. The more intense the atmosphere, the more we're up for it. And the anticipation on the bus on the way down. Look, I get a bus from Norfolk, with some lovely people. It's not a rowdy crowd or anything like that. But we were buoyant. We were buoyant. It was brilliant from that start. And then just the atmosphere around the ground. I was getting frustrated because the food I ordered in the cafe was taking a little bit of a while to come. And I was like, come on, we want to get to the ground. Got to the ground. Block 6 was absolutely packed. Our good friend Tabs from the Grove podcast, we were messaging, perhaps looking to try and meet up because my food took so long. I couldn't. And then he was telling me, he was saying, oh, Gunnosaurus is with us in Block 6, jumping up and down. And I was like, behave, you're having me on. Like I said, pictures or it didn't happen. And then he sent me the bloody pictures. I was like, what is going on? He said, yeah, it was all funny until people started throwing beer around. And the guy in the suit was like, guys, this is not easy to replace and look after. So we'll be off. It was like a fever had taken over. I didn't see any of the Ashburton Army March, but the pictures I've seen subsequently were absolutely brilliant. They made a point of being in the ground nice and early to even just ramp up the atmosphere while the teams were training. The tifos were great. We had Henri held down at the clock end. We have a mural now in the Hornsey Road tunnel of Henri in his yellow top after what he did in Madrid. Fireworks going off, the singing. Just the chanting, like the LA chant, which I know we've nicked off Liverpool or Villa or whoever bloody came.
No such thing as an original chant.
Well, exactly. I know, but I know what the comments will be like. But anyway, that was going like 10 minutes before kickoff. And when I say going, I don't just mean like little pocket here and there. The crowd, everyone waving their scarves. I do actually struggle to remember another occasion like it. Weirdly, like there are good ones. Atletico Madrid semi-final Europa League, brilliant atmosphere. It wasn't quite the same as that last night. It was something else. I mean, North London forever just hit. It was incredible.
Yeah, we even heard it on the telly it coming through because it was early. Like, so they were chatting and you could hear it really loud.
Oh my God, it was so good. The tifo worked. Everyone holding up their little recyclable bags, and I know you were worried about it because of your mental scarring from when it didn't pay off against Man United. But boy, and actually that noise, because again, I was waiting for it to die off. It didn't. Whole first half. Brilliant, just solid on the ref. Every decision, chance going around. It was fantastic. And I hate saying I'm lucky because I paid for the privilege of being there. But I do know that, we're a global club, millions of fans around the world, and I got to be there. It was insane.
Yes, it looked it, it sounded it, it felt it. Yeah, we'll get back to. I have a slight Eeyore.
No,
I do.
No
yeah,
negativity.
I
Come
no,
on.
I'm sorry. I think it's important. But not yet.
Okay.
We said last week or the last pod that we wanted you to be going to Madrid with the tie still on. So I'm afraid. How do you feel that it's game over?
Be it. No way. I'm not playing that game. Not at all. Because the coach ride home even was brilliant, because everyone just wanted to eat up. Everyone was telling their stories of the game and what they saw, and then everything was coming through on social media and the post-match interviews. Well, Tim Stillman, obviously of Arsblog and really good football writer, he said we could be in for an all-timer next week. Their home fans, their players, referees, the antics and the shenanigans that could be pulled could be unbelievable. So, yeah, boy, I mean, I'd have bitten way more than your hand off before the game for 3-0.
Well, I haven't seen the odds on what a 3-0 home win would have been, but I can't imagine many people took it.
It would have been mad. So, I mean, for me, it seemed completely unfeasible that would be even possible. And so, to be going there with that is amazing. And yet, just knowing...
It's only half-time. Yes, it's half-time.
What's good is, David Raya said exactly that in his post-match. It's half-time. We've done really well, but it's half-time. I loved it. I mean, as I mentioned it, Jude Bellingham. We were lucky to only concede 3.
Yeah, fair play. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. We got away with 3, were his exact words.
Because we were worth more.
Yeah, it's that second half, I cannot remember or recount a more perfect second half of football than that. With regards to the context, sure, we've scored more goals in a half of football before, but Real Madrid, Champions League quarter-final, the names on the backs of their shirts, current holders, that was imperious. That entire, not just the goals, and we'll get into the goals in a minute, but just the performance. It was flawless. I made some notes as the first half progressed, and it was largely positive. However, there were little cautionary notes about a bit of sloppiness. Saka gave the ball away.
You're in the first minute.
Yeah, absolutely.
We were thinking, here we go.
Raya made a decent save. Mbappe should have done better. And we had our moments as well. That was fine. And I must admit, I was going into half-time thinking, let's not just concede a silly goal before half-time. Because if we get into half-time like this, what did we say? My one worry before this game started, that we would be in awe of Madrid's aura. And I wanted that to not be the case. And we shattered their aura. Their aura has been shattered completely. And that's why I've got a bit more confidence going into the Bernabeu, because we've demonstrated that we can deal with this. Arteta we criticise his lack of rotation, perhaps. We criticise him still failing to counter the low block opponent.
Yeah.
What we cannot criticise him over is how he sets us up for the biggest of games.
Big games.
The big games. Okay, we came a cropper against Atletico Madrid, Bayern Munich last season. However, by and large, look at the big 6 games. City, home and away. Liverpool home and away. I think, are we undefeated in like 18 consecutive games, 19, whatever it is, against the so-called big 6 opponents? So our feet will be firmly planted on the ground. And I found it really interesting that a lot of the players were saying what was Arteta's message before the game, and it was a simple 3 words: make it happen. And boy, did they make it happen. And I think that first half gave them the confidence. There was no error in the second half. There was no sloppiness in the second half. Every play is really difficult, of course, and we will get into them. Declan Rice got man of the match. Of course he did, right? I mean, for sure. Those, ridiculous. Lewis Skelly, I mean, even in the first half, I'm like, is he actually playing in midfield? He's defending against Rodrigo. And was there any threat at all down that side? I'm not aware of any. I can't recall any. His dominance in midfield was just he is so good. I do not have the words to describe just how good he was yesterday. I mean, for me, he was my kind of personal man of the match. I thought he was just amazing. His attitude. I've got some stats on him, funnily enough. Which I'm struggling. Oh yeah, he won 100% of his tackles
against Real Madrid.
Yeah, he was successful with 100%. Yep, he was successful with 100% of his dribbles. I don't know how many he took on. I didn't check that. He had a 95% pass accuracy. He won 4 duels, 2 key passes, 1 assist. He had more touches, 74, completed more passes, 54, created more chances, 2, and registered more assists, 1, than Luka Modric, who turns 40 in September and is one of the greatest midfielders of this generation. This is an 18-year-old kid who only made his first team debut in September or something. I mean, it's his rise has just been phenomenal. And it sticks in the craw a little bit hearing Carragher eulogise about him, because the same frickin' Carragher who was telling him to get back in his lane when he did the Haaland celebration is the same Carragher that's saying now his arrogance reminds me of a young Wayne Rooney. Well, you can't have it both ways, mate. It's pipe down with the negativity and be more sensible in your praise, perhaps. But he was brilliant. Kivior, yeah, he made that mistake in the first minute, but nothing. Timber was interesting in the first half. He just didn't attack. He stayed back. Fine, he's got Vinicius and Mbappe coming down his side. I think that's a sensible decision. But Saka, first start in 3.5 months, whatever it is. He's a bit rusty in that first half a couple of times. That was it, just a couple of times. But he had Alaba on ice. He was gone. He was all over the place. Didn't know whether he was going to go inside, go down, go outside. Put in a couple of absolute stonking crosses. That Declan Rice actually said in his post-match interview, I don't know if you heard it, that he really... It's funny, isn't it? Such a professional is Declan Rice. Such high standards as he set himself. As well as being rightly proud of his 2 free kicks, his first thought was, I should have had more. I stopped my run for that ball across the city. I stopped my run. And you saw him as well. He just put his hands to his head when he realised where Saka had put it. He said, if I just kept running, if I hadn't checked, I'd have had a tap in from 2 yards. Saka put Martinelli, I thought was excellent, especially in the first half. I thought he was brilliant. He was really gave them caused them a lot of concern on their right hand side. Partey, I thought, was brilliant in that holding role. Marino was his goal scoring. You're just going to name the whole team. Yeah, well, this is it. No, deliberately so. Deliberately so. Absolutely. Yeah. And this is it, because it was a second half performance like I have not seen. It was, considering we're missing, well, certainly two of our starting 11 in Gabriel and Havertz. Saka just coming back, clearly still feeling his way back to fitness, but he is such a dangerous. He's such an efficient player. It's incredible. And yeah, I don't know, Madrid missing a couple of players as well, but every player, Saliba, cool as ice as well, a couple of really important interceptions, but just keeping it calm there with Kivior alongside him. Ryan made a save, gathered a few crosses, didn't have a huge amount to do. Madly did play sweeper keeper a couple of times and kind of kept the ball rotating. There's nothing negative to say about any performance. They were all 10 out of 10s. You cannot be anything other than 10 out of 10 if you beat Real Madrid 3-0 and every single Real Madrid player appreciates that they got lucky with 3-0. It's like it's mental. And the game was 50-50 at half time. Like I said 60-40 in favour of us, didn't I, at half time? I actually posted that. I think we're just that last 5-10 minutes of that half, I thought, I think we've seen what Real Madrid have got, and we're like, okay,
we fancy it.
Yeah, we can do this. How was it in the ground in that first half? Was it nervy, or was it just, as you say, just up and at 'em from the crowd?
It was up and at 'em from the crowd. We were playing that vociferous role that we do, and look, Arsenal fans get a bit of a duff reputation for some things, we know we get it up for the big games, and it was a big game, and it was absolutely brilliant atmosphere, and everyone was very supportive. There was a bit of head in hands when Kivior made that mistake, and we wondered if it was going to be a long evening, but everyone recovered. It was just brilliant, and the chances being missed was there, but it was always people talk around you about the game as it's going on, and everyone, it's part of people processing what they're seeing, and everyone was sort of talking. So that Saka cross that you mentioned, everyone's saying, well, that's a cross for Havertz, probably,
or a striker within an instinctive striker. Yeah, that was what I was saying. People's
comments were split that someone with that instinct to gamble, fine, but also we are a team that's built on relationships. As much as we do think Arteta needs to rotate because he'll play players until they sort of break, how much better does Odegaard look when Saka's suddenly on the wing? And so Saka's making those crosses. He's able to go around the outside because, the likes of Havertz has been there to get that. Well, you've got Marino playing in the Havertz role, who's not a striker, but is probably the informed striker in Europe at the moment, because he's just a very good footballer.
Clever,
very good footballer. And they were doing that thing, and I'm not sure, this is where Rice was kicking himself because he checked his run, because Marino will come short. His instinct is to link up play and do that. But Rice then, as obviously they've coached it, whereas if Marino does that, then there will be a space for you to fill. And it's not going to be pinpoint every time, because I don't think that's any of their maybe natural games, or certainly not their games that they've played before. Even to the point where Declan Rice hasn't scored free kicks before, and yet all of a sudden, he takes corners and puts them on a postage stamp. And so why can't he do that with... Honestly,
why did it take 338 first-team games for someone to work that out? And it wasn't even... It was him that worked it out, because I don't know if you've seen the footage, that from the side touchline, Jova was telling him to cross it. Odegaard on the pitch, cross it. It was only Saka who told him, look at the wall, look at look at it. And he thought, yeah, I'll have a bit of that.
I'm sure we'll talk about the goals. I do want to go back to one of the things, because we sort of saw it, and I've since heard other people talk about it. So, yes, Lewis Skelly was stepping into midfield, happy to receive the ball under, people trying to get the ball off him. A couple of great dribbles through the midfield. I keep calling him the Hail End Messi, and I need to stop myself doing that.
But he's starting to come up to this moniker.
But at the same time, there were definitely a couple of moments where the communication between him and Martinelli was telling. I don't know if you saw this on the thing. It was almost as if Martinelli would do a hand signal to Skelly saying, no, you stay back, I've got Rodrigo. as a way of kind of doubling up, but also just like retaining shape, I suppose, not leaving Lewis Skelly necessarily one-on-one. It was almost as if Martinelli seemed like, right, first and foremost, I stop him here,
Help,
and then
yeah.
Exactly. Did you notice that in particular?
Not really, but that's Martinelli's game, isn't it? He's his work. We never in his poor run of form over the last season and a half, perhaps. One thing that was never ever questioned was his work ethic, his defensive, him maintaining the team's defensive shape. That was all. It was always his decision making in that final third, which has in the last few games completely transformed itself. But again, and that's. Yeah, great that Lewis Skelly and Martinelli are developing a relationship. We need it for 1, 2, 3, 4 more games.
And just think, a lot of people were sort of jokingly, especially afterwards, were going, well, this is justification through the hard times, going to Dundalk and going to Rapid Vienna in the Europa League, and now we're here. But aside from, the tongue-in-cheek comment about that, look at the nature of the team. The lowest ebb was clearly that away game at Palace, for me anyway, where we were chanting, "You're not fit to wear the shirt." And what did we see in that team? We saw a lack of leadership. We saw a lack of taking responsibility. We saw a lack of effort, frankly, from our point of view. I mean, I'm sure those players don't consciously put in no effort.
Yes.
It's not that, but it's how the fans perceive it. Whereas now, there's just leaders everywhere you look in that team.
Well, who isn't? I mean, work through the team. Work through the team that started. Let's work through the team that started.
Raya.
Raya.
Manding of his box.
Absolutely.
Saliba. Probably not vocal, but he certainly leads by example.
Timber.
Brilliant.
As Arteta has said, he said we didn't actually realise the player we were getting when we signed him. Wow. And he was not talking about him just on the pitch. He was talking about his personality in the changing rooms and the training ground. Kivior, I mean, he's probably the most. What's the opposite of senior? Non-senior
he's
player.
A squad
on
player,
the pitch.
isn't he?
Yeah. Lewis Skelly. I mean,
he's
the
born
to the manner born. Absolutely.
Can I just at the end of the game? I don't know if the cameras picked it up. They do a lap and they clap the crowd. He was pointing, doing this. This is our house. This is
the other thing. The other thing I noticed about him that you might not have noticed, when Camavinga kicked the ball away, Lewis Skelly sprinted to the referee saying he's kicked the ball away. And he comes in as the referee's shown the second yellow and the red. Lewis Skelly, you can see him. He's still in the background, just like that. He's off. That's winning mentality. That's the mentality that you want. Yeah. That's it. You want that spike. You want that edge.
Other teams used to do it to us, and everyone used to criticise us because we had no backbone, we had no nous, we weren't streetwise. Well, here we are. Love it. It's just, and that's the thing as anything. Yeah, there's quality in the game, but look, we had quality players even when we weren't doing well, and we had that awful soft belly reputation. But it's just the pride that you get watching this team. They're such a likeable team as well.
Yeah, the connection with the
fans. And the manager. Arteta comes in for some flack, and he's not perfect. Look, we've said, but to go from where we were to here in these big games, like you say, it's just night and day. It's unreal, and everyone's just so happy after the last 24 hours. It's great. I'm just beaming. My whole day has been ruined today. I've had loads of stuff that I should have been doing, but no, social media. Oh, there's a new angle of a goal that I haven't seen.
Okay, well, come on. Let's come on to the goals.
The goals.
I do want to mention Saka, though, because before the game, Arteta was interviewed about Saka and what does he bring to the team. And his response was really interesting. It was a one-word response, unpredictability. And I thought that was really interesting because we sometimes get the sense that the team is overcoached, and that they're kind of, and he elaborated on that. He said, he does the things that we haven't practiced, we haven't rehearsed, we haven't coached. He does these things just instinctively, a bit like Rice and the free kick. And so the reason I mention this is because Saka won both of those free kicks. Very similar, cut inside, and just one of the co-commentators, I can't remember who it was, did say that he could have gone down 2 or 3 times, but he waited until the optimum position for the free kick before hitting the turf. And I believe it as well. That's what the co-commentator said. That was his interpretation of what Saka did. And watching the replay, I'm thinking like, yeah, do you know what? He's done that. It was too wide, twice, nearly central, perfect. I'll go down now. Free kick. So, free kicks down your end.
Oh, I mean, I love it when the goals are down our end because they celebrate in front of us. And I have to tell you, like block 6, you know, I love the phrase limbs. I mean, there was limbs. I hugged everyone you know who sits around us got a hug. Some of them might have even got a kiss. It was unreal.
And I'm sure none complained.
Yeah, well. But it was the relief of tension. We all know how good we are. Don't let rival fans on social media, don't let the pundits, colour, the thing about bottling it and all that kind of stuff. We are good, and we all know we're good. We just want to prove it. And boy, did we prove it. And there was so much of a release that it just went off. It was great.
Right, I want to ask you a question, because this is a debate that's been raging on social media all day. Which of the Rice free kicks was the best? Or the better? Should I say better, because it's only 2?
I think I'm on the side of the second one. It's unsavable.
Yeah, you could be standing there.
It is unsavable. You get your wall right, and you get your positioning right with the first one, you might save it. And that's not to say, look, we're talking about a free kick that is in the top 1 or 2% of all free kicks of all time with the first one. But the second one, I think it edges it.
For me, I do you know what? I have been flip-flopping as the day's gone on. The thing about and this is ignoring the context, because the first goal is always the most important goal, right? It kind of gives us the shot in the arm, and they kind of, I mean, Real Madrid. This is Real Madrid we're talking about. They were somewhat cowed by that. They were almost turned into like an inexperienced outfit because they just could not cope. We could have scored from that point on. It was how many we would get was the question, not whether we were going to win or not. It was how many we were going to get. Whilst always Real Madrid with their strikers and how pacey are, there's always that threat that they carry going forward. For me, the first goal, the first free kick, it went so wide and around and in. That's and great that Roberto Carlos was in the crowd and the camera panned to. Yeah. Well, the camera panned to him, like within a few seconds or a few of the replays in the crowd. So there was the way it bent out so far outside the post and inside the post. That was what gives the first free kick its edge. But the placement of that, there's the brilliant still doing the rounds on social media where you can see the shadow of the ball on the post, on the upright.
Is that the one where Saliba's in the foreground?
Yes, that's right. Yes, yeah.
Oh.
It hit the inside of. I don't even know how physics works in this case, because he kicked it almost like with the inside of his right foot. It shouldn't have been able to hit the inside of inside of the side netting. It shouldn't have been able to hit that without hitting the post. I don't understand how it went in. The pace he hit it with, the unerring accuracy. And listen to me, the way I'm talking about it's clearly the second one for me as well. It's that, I mean, and his celebration is iconic because, I don't know, you probably didn't see it.
I didn't see it, but he was right in front of us.
He's just stood up, and I was worried. Do you know why I was worried? Because he was one of the ones on a yellow card, and I worried that he would be deemed to have been
over the barrier
and
into the crowd. You're a yellow,
yeah, and he stood on it and maybe had a moment's rational thought, perhaps, but it was like but his all-round performance was brilliant, and it's £100 million. I mean, no one's really ever talked about his price other than the Arsenal fans mocking it. Declan Rice, we got him half price.
David Moyes in his pre-match
said it. You owe me
presser,
50. Yeah,
we still owe him 50 million quid. Do you know what? He's not wrong.
No, he's not wrong. He's not wrong.
He is.
Cometh the hour, cometh the man, and so on.
Rice is mustard, because whatever midfielder you compare him to, he's got a bit of it all. You want to compare him to the best properly defensive midfielders, he's got that. You want to compare him to the best box-to-box midfielders, he's got that. You want to compare him to the best attacking midfielders, he's got some of that. He is action man. He's amazing.
Well, do you know, I haven't thought this before, but as you're talking there, do you know which player has sprung to mind? It's a former Arsenal. No, it's a former Arsenal player. Yeah, Vieira. Yeah, because he's got more. I know Rodri has scored a couple of key goals, but I think Rice has more of a goal threat than Rodri. That might be just my perception. I don't know if the stats bear that out or not. I know Rodri has got a couple of important last minute.
He is
winners.
good at important goals, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Vieira is that everything. He does everything extremely well, and you can't pigeonhole him. Arsenal fans can't pigeon. We have a raging debate whether he's a 6 or an 8, which is his best position. Well, actually, he's a little bit from column A, a little bit from column B, which makes him better than both. Just a word on Mourinho. Football 365 put out a tweet which I thought was great. If there's a better worst goal in a 3-0 win, I'd love to see it.
It's almost a shame,
isn't it,
that it's going under the radar, because that was a brilliant
amazing
goal.
Finish.
Also, some of the things in the build-up, because there's a pass, someone else pointed this out, I can't remember who it was, I saw it online. The pass that Raya makes out into the midfield is such a risky pass, because it's like playing a cue ball in snooker through a bunch of other balls to hit your target ball, that it has to be so precise. Get it wrong, and all of a sudden, Real Madrid are on the attack, and we are under pressure. But he gets it right. He fizzes it in. And the midfielder, might have been Skelly, I might be wrong, gets it on the turn, and then drives forward. And then the build-up play down the side, the pass. Like you say, Mourinho's moving away from the goal, hits it first time on the turn, and bends in such a way that Courtois got no chance.
If Isak had done that,
don't.
You would. It's like it's top draw. It was
he was brilliant.
A world-class finish. It was the only place that he could have scored in from that position. And he did cut. He held back. It was everything about that was instinctive striker play. And he made...
He's not a striker.
No, absolutely. And he made Skelly's mind up in terms of, here's the pass. And it was a little bit behind him, but because it was a little bit behind him, it allowed him to wrap his left foot around it to get the curl. The spin and the curl, I'm not sure how that happened either. Like, this game defied physics for me on a couple of occasions, but being an English teacher, that's not necessarily a shock.
You're like the first man that discovered fire.
What's this? How? And listen, we could have scored more. There was a couple of clearances off the line. Again, Mourinho as well. Second half.
You said Rice got man of the match for those moments, and I get that. Skelly might have been the best player in the match, and
which
I get
is
that
ridiculous.
As well. To me, Courtois was the difference maker in the match, because no Courtois, then this is a different game. There was the headed chance, I think, from Mourinho
Declan
in
Rice.
The first
No,
half.
it was Declan Rice.
Declan Rice, was it?
Yeah, and a Martinelli rebound shot.
So, obviously that was the other end of the pitch. So from our perspective, he heads that ball, and from that distance, Courtois nowhere. I'm ready to go celebrating. I am ready to go. And then he's across. It was a magnificent save.
Yeah, it wasn't quite... It wasn't as good a save, and he shouldn't have pushed it straight out to Martinelli either.
Well, it looked bloody brilliant.
No, it wasn't as it could have been. I mean, Rice said himself, he said he was disappointed with where he placed it. It was too close. It wasn't what if it was inside the post, Courtois wouldn't have got to it. But it was a couple of yards inside, so he had a chance. Still a good save. It was still a good save. It was, but and Martinelli's follow up was on target. It's all you can ask for at that point, and he saved that as well. But there's that Gomez scramble in the second half down your end, which And Partey had a header in the first half that hit Saliba, could have gone in as well.
Well, this is the thing. The game was full of these moments. So
Half moments, yeah.
Well, just like jaw-dropping moments. Hands on head in wide-eyed disbelief moments. Whether it's... I mean, the second free kick... I have to tell you this story because it's so funny. He's lining up for the free kick and everyone's like looking and a few wry looks. And I'm just there going, he ain't doing it again. He ain't doing it again. There's no way he's scoring again. And then it goes in, and of course, everyone around me is like hugging me, going, he did it again! He did it again! I can't believe it! And we couldn't believe it. Lightning does not strike twice. It was just head on hands. And the goalmouth scramble. Afterwards, everyone's going, how's it not gone in? Like, what is going on? It was a game for the occasion. It was unreal.
Okay, so it was brilliant.
Well, on that, hold on.
Go on.
So me sort of like reminiscing about a few like stories here and there, and saying, "Oh, he's not going to do it again," and then he did. I put a call out on our social media for people to. I said, "Well, what was your view? What was your story? What your because we're all sort of just basking in this brilliant night and occasion." So I've got a few responses here. Actually, one about the whole evening. Again, we mentioned him earlier. Tabs messages and said his highlights were singing "Are You Tottenham in Disguise?"
Fantastic.
At Real Madrid. The pre-match Gunnosaurus moshing in Block 6 on the concourse. Shutting down the Olays at 2-0 because we all knew as well was another one.
We heard those. Like, what?
Yeah, we've all been there. I was very much, no, guys, come on. I wasn't overly happy with "Are You Tottenham in Disguise?" because I'm just thinking, I've got to go.
That was at least
week.
at 3-0.
And it was funny. It was funny. I'll give them that. Also, Ars Vengers, who contacted us before in a mailbag episode on Blue Sky, said Bellingham trying to wind up Miles, Lewis Skelly, but that kid just brushes it off like a boss. He's put a couple of expletives in there, which I've had to remove because we know students that we teach listen. But yeah, absolutely, Lewis Skelly just to the manner born. I love it. My mate Watsy has messaged. Hello, John. I know you listen on occasion. He just wanted to highlight the fact that Thomas Partey, with another exemplary performance in his season of full availability, although he's been handled probably a little bit more carefully than other players. He's not been flogged every single game, and I wonder if they've learnt the lesson with him a bit, but we'll see. And then he asked us the question, would you offer him a contract? He would. My pal Watsy would. Would you want my response? I said, it depends what other business is done around his position. If Zubimendi's bought in, or Skelly is moved into that position, as we all think he probably will be, then maybe not. However, if we're short, yeah, we might have to because he's having one of his better seasons.
Another, 2-year extension. He'd probably want longer than that, but
that's all it factors in. Isn't it?
A 2-year contract would allow Lewis Skelly us to bed in a first choice left back. And kind of morph Skelly into
I could see that
into the midfielder. So a few moving parts at the moment, but like he's been excellent all season. We've said it, like the odd rustiness, but no, he's been brilliant. He was brilliant yesterday as well. So. Listen, you can't have too many good players.
You can't have too many good players. And if we've got the wiggle room for it, Jorginho looks like he's almost certain to be off.
He's going back to Brazil, I think.
Exactly, yeah. So there's those to factor in. And then the last one came in off Instagram. So from Mohamed Demasi, apologies if I'm pronouncing that wrong. He messaged and said that he came all the way from Toronto to watch the game. And he says one thing he'll remember forever is the whole stadium singing "Allez, allez, allez" and waving their scarves right before kickoff. I mean, I don't know if that was his first ever game, but either way, to come all that way from Toronto and to see that. I mean, my argument is that I want to know what you're doing for the semi-final.
I was just going to say,
because you've got to come back over. Yeah.
First of all, he's got to go to Madrid next week. The club needs to sort this out. Needs to offer him a seat at any of our remaining games in the Champions League this season.
Yeah, make it happen. So thanks for getting in touch. It was a magical night. Are you going to go E or
no? I am, but not yet. Chris has sent us in his thoughts, and he did preface it by saying, like, he's just probably going to echo everything that everybody else has said. But I will. He said, I remember Stef saying in the last pod, I just want us to still be in it so I can enjoy the second leg as a contest. Without wishing to jinx it, I think there's a fair to good chance you will enjoy it. He said, as we noted the pre-match crowd atmosphere came across as something special, even viewing it on a smartphone. We all got the team prediction, the team lineup right. We call that. Did I predict us to win?
No, you said 1-1.
1-1, and so you two said we'd lose. Right, okay. So just noting that.
Why? Anyone who's listened regularly knows that's fine. That's what I do.
On the goals, he's saying that the Rice goal number 2 was the marginally the better goal for him. So that's kind of what we were saying. On the Marino goal, he says, love the fact that we kept pushing for a third when it would seem safer to sit back a bit. Good point, actually, because we did. And, 2-0, not as good as 3-0.
Well, even after the second. Like, you score 2 free kicks, and free kicks are not the easiest chances to come by, and they're not certainly working off a pattern of play that you're working towards. So you would have forgiven the team if they'd got 2-0 up and gone, do you know what? We'll try and hold on to this. But no, like you say, I think we're getting to a point now, and like there's still the problem of the low block teams, of course. But in some of these bigger games, we get that sense. It's like a boxer feeling out his opponent, and that I feel that they got the sense that apart from a bit of trickery from Vinicius Junior that never really come to much, and Mbappe's speed. That was the thing that impressed me about seeing him live for the first time. His speed would be about the only thing that would sort of catch us out. So, yeah, they fancied it.
Oh, you could actually see it. You could see the shift in, I don't know, what would you call, superiority or presence, I guess, on the pitch. Yeah. It happened as simultaneous. We thought, hang on a minute, these lot aren't as good as we thought they were, and you could see them thinking
on the night. I want to say
on the night. Yeah, no, just in the game, yeah, and then you could see them thinking, well, they're a bit better than we thought they were. And it was a psychological shift. You could see it. No, just back to Chris, because Chris is offering me a nice little segue into my point. He says his final thought on the game, it was the epitome of enjoying the journey and not just the destination. We are competing with and convincingly beating the very best and should savour this victory regardless of continued success in the Champions League this season. Now, for those of you listening, Stef is hanging his head in his hands.
Because I think I know what you're going to say.
He senses what's coming. I'm going to point you to Clarence Seedorf, a serial winner of the Champions League, 4-time winner of the Champions League, and countless other trophies. Declan Rice came to do his post-match interview, and Declan Rice said something like, it must have been missed in like kind of a translation, sort of. But Clarence Seedorf challenged him, questioned him, said, you think you can win it? Like, you think you can win the tournament? Like, and he was saying it, surely you think you can win the tournament. He wasn't questioning whether we could win the tournament. He was questioning whether Rice believed, and Rice, like, and it was like one game at a time. And it's about the mentality. For me, like, I'll go back to the Bournemouth, the last minute winner, the Reece Nelson winner.
This is what I thought.
For me, that was the most amazing moment at the Emirates for me. That win, that 97th minute goal. It was just something else. It was something existential. It wasn't physical. Chris talks about the white noise, and it's true. But looking back on it, and I enjoyed that moment as much as anybody else, but there was always that little caveat, that little voice, just like it's half time. You were applauding it in the players. oh, it's only half, the job's only half done. We're not through yet, right? So there's that. That's the caveat. That doesn't mean they didn't enjoy that experience. You should, anyone watching Declan Rice give that interview, he was just overjoyed. I'm not going to sleep tonight. No, I'm not going to sleep tonight. I'll just keep watching this again and again and again, clearly. And that's fine. That's great. But they've already said it. As soon as they got in the change room, there was no celebration. It was like, that's half time. Well done. You're 3-0 up. But it starts again in 8 days' time or whenever. And for me, the Bournemouth win has been diminished because we didn't win the league. It wasn't part of the story that won us the league. And it's for me, winning against Barcelona, we lost the tie. I couldn't care less about beating Barcelona. Well, great. It's like we're not a small club, but that's a small club mentality. That's my opinion. My view on that is that, yeah, I'm delighted we beat Real Madrid 3-0. But do you know what? If we lose 4-0 in the second leg, I won't give a toss about last night. Because it meant nothing. It meant nothing. Because I want to win. It'd be different if it was, a club that has no. I know we've not won the Champions League, but we have. Whether it's, a statistic I learned last night, thanks to whoever the commentator was. We are the club who's played the most games in the Champions League without winning it. So we have got lots of experience in the Champions League. Do you know who Arsenal's most capped player is
in the Champions League?
No, in the current team.
Capped, as in like
most appearances for Arsenal.
Most appearances for Arsenal in the current team. Who's been there the longest? Saka?
It is Saka, yeah.
It's got to be.
23. Is he 23?
Well, that team, he came obviously in under Emery, but that team has basically been gutted.
So, I mean, like that's. I thought. I don't know who I thought he was. I just hadn't thought of that as a question before.
Yeah.
But it was
even
Saka.
Some of the older players have obviously come in later. Jorginho and Partey and that. Yeah.
Or I don't know what I was going to say.
Yeah, no, look, and I totally agree with you. And like, even a lot of us fans, and especially those of us that are going to Madrid, because everyone was saying to me, oh, there you go, you can go to Madrid and relax. I'm like, no, I will not be relaxed. I will not be relaxed until I see how the game starts to pan out. Ask me...
Well, but even with 15 minutes to go, for still 3-0.
Well, I don't know. Yes, of course. And this is the thing, wasn't it? It's a Real Madrid that scored 3 goals in however many minutes against, was it Man City before? In one of their games. Anyway, but either way, that's all it takes, isn't it? And now, the odds are in our favour massively. There was a brilliant stat going around that it's 400 and something days since we last conceded more than 2 goals. And so the odds are there, aren't they? But at the same time, we've got to do that with our best central defender, arguably our best central defender missing. Again, Kivior's great. He stepped up. You remember when he stepped up in left-back position last season? He's a consummate professional. He's a very good player. And look, the only reason he gets diminished is because the players in front of him are William Saliba and Gabriel. So that's what can we do?
And the more he's played, like he's played 2 games now, so and it's his position. He's an experienced international footballer.
Left centre back, yeah, absolutely. So, and I totally get that, And this is the thing I always talk about: this cognitive dissonance that people have. You can enjoy beating Madrid at home 3-0 to the maximum, whilst also knowing that you need to go on and then finish the job. You can also enjoy a moment like Bournemouth to the maximum and then also be disappointed that it didn't lead to a title. Like the cognitive dissonance that somehow Bournemouth didn't matter at all on the day, or anyone, this celebration police. Like someone stood in the crowd at Bournemouth not enjoying it, going, I'm not going to celebrate until the end of the season. Like what?
No, but mental. But for me, I was celebrating it because I thought it could be the difference.
And that's the point. I suppose there's that thing of, I don't know, I don't want to name a club, but let's say you're a middling club in any league, okay, who, because of whatever it is, budget restraints or just the size of the club or the infrastructure that you've got, means you're probably never going to be pushing for titles, what are you going to really celebrate? You know, throughout the season, it's going to be a win against your local rivals, possibly, or beating one of the big boys, isn't
Aren't
it?
you talking about Tottenham?
No. But you're going to enjoy that. That will be probably the maximum for your season.
Absolutely, that's my point.
And that's the thing. I certainly had a period as an Arsenal fan where that could be described. You know, when fourth place was a trophy and all that sort of nonsense was sort of happening, the thing that hurt us the most was that we weren't really in contention. And so those little victories were just little victories. They didn't feel like they were part of anything bigger. I always said I knew the tide had turned when Fergie started being nice to Wenger. And when Mourinho started being
no
nice
longer
to
a threat.
No longer a threat. And that's rubbish.
It's worse.
None of them like Arteta. Arteta's a threat. Exactly. So I love it. And I'm with you, totally. So let's go finish the job in Madrid, and then let's see if we fancy our chances against PSG, who, it's full-time, they've just beaten
checked,
Villa 3-1. It was 2-1, and then there was a goal in injury time, so long way back for Villa.
Who would you, hypothetically, who would you rather face in a semi-final should we get there?
PSG.
It's funny, isn't it? Because they're clearly a better team, but every Arsenal fan I know would rather match up against PSG.
Two reasons. One, Villa are a bit of a bloody bogey side for us. There's two...
Low block.
Yeah, a bit of a low block, but very devastating on the counter, it should be said.
Even more so now than when we played.
Probably even more so, especially with Rafa. There's also something, just romantically speaking, I don't like teams from the same country playing each other. That's just a perception thing, but it is what it is. And the other thing is, and my buzzword from a season or two ago, narrative. Emery, Martinez.
No,
I don't
absolutely
want any part of that. Thank you very much.
I was watching the first half earlier this evening, and
they look good. They look.
I was when Villa scored. I was for God's sake, and that was my instinctive, automatic, involuntary reaction to what I was seeing.
But I want Villa fans to take it as a huge compliment.
Yeah,
because I would hate playing that team.
Absolutely,
They've done so many numbers on us last 2 years.
Look, no guarantee we're going to get through against Madrid.
No.
Get through against Madrid. No guarantee we'd get through 2 games against PSG either.
Or Villa. Yeah,
I'm not saying that, but I'm saying I'd prefer to go up against PSG than Villa because of narrative.
Yeah, I think also there's an element of, look, if I never would have thought this myself particularly, but there are, and we said it earlier, didn't we, about the low block problem that we've got. Well, actually, PSG attack, that's their thing.
Yeah,
that's the point.
Like Madrid.
So actually, the clash of styles would be something we wouldn't have to prepare hugely differently as we have for Madrid. I do want to point out, because I've not been too aware of him particularly, but that Desiree Doué in the first half.
Teenager.
Incredible. He looked brilliant. So...
And Dembele's having a second half to a season like no other.
He's doing a Salah, but just from New Year. That's crazy.
But we're not there yet, so
we are not.
Let's hold our horses.
I'm not in Madrid yet.
No, but you will be this time next week.
God, the game will be starting now, or it'll be half time.
Over.
It'll be half time. No, it's an hour on, innit? So for me, technically.
Well, okay, no, Steph, that's not how time works. It's this time next week.
So you're not understanding physics. I've lost the sense of time.
This time next week, it will be 2 minutes past 10 p.m. here, and it will. Okay.
Look, I'm already on Madrid time. I'm already on Madrid time.
I hope the game will be over because I'm not gone into extra time or something.
Oh, God, don't.
And this is. I'm now annoyed the away goals rule is out because 1 goal would mean they'd have to get 5. Anyway, so look, we've got. I don't even know when we're playing Brentford. When we're playing Brentford,
5:30 on Saturday.
5:30 on Saturday. So I'm taking a little trip back to the farm in Ireland for a bit of sun.
I'm taking my nephew and my father-in-law. So thank you for the tickets. You've transferred them to their memberships. So that'll be a little family day out.
I'll go through Chris's team. He's put forward his selection. Raya in goal. Back four: White, Saliba, Kivior, Zinchenko. Midfield three: Partey, Rice, Odegaard. And front three, he's written it: Ranieri, Marino, and Martinelli. How does yours? He says Saka will probably get. He says, "Oh no, I'll tell you what he says in relation to the score in a minute." But That's his team. How's yours match up?
Raya in goal. White, Saliba, Kivior, Tierney. Midfield three: Odegaard, Jorginho, Rice, and then front three: Ranieri, Trossard, Sterling.
Okay, so we've got three different lineups. I've gone for Raya in goal, White, Saliba, Kivior, Zinchenko. I did have Tierney down. I crossed him out. I thought that because I think Tierney is more likely to be an earlier sub in Madrid.
Okay.
Defensively.
Yeah.
So I thought he might keep his powder dry a little bit because Tierney is a little bit breakable.
Fragile. His cameo, by the way, against Madrid. Brilliant.
Yeah.
I'm so happy
he's getting some games.
He's part of it.
Yeah.
Because, he's in the chant, isn't he? Tierney at the back, Gabby, and love it. Anyway.
And he's a nice kid.
Such a nice
person. My midfield three, slightly different. I've gone for Jorginho, Marino, and Odegaard. I think Rice will be rested because he got a knock. He got a knock in the game. I think he's fine. Saka came off on that second goal as well. Yeah. He had a bit of a knock as well, he said, but he's fine. And my front three, Ranieri, Trossard, and I did have Martinelli, but then I remembered Sterling. So I've crossed Martinelli out and Sterling will start. I do believe that Saka and Sterling and Rice will all come on for the last 25 minutes.
Do you think Sterling's best contribution at Arsenal will be to have played against Everton and Brentford so that other attackers can be rested for Real Madrid? That's going to be it, right?
It's a team game. It's a squad game.
Yeah.
Chris also says Saka will get about 25 minutes and a good few subs to save legs for next week. His score prediction is 1-0 to the Arsenal. What's yours?
Mine is 1-1 to the no one.
Yeah, I don't know whether this will be a bit like after
Brentford
the Lord Mayor show
as well. Yeah.
Difficult to get up, but if I've got 6 changes.
I thought you were going to say I've got 5-0 or something.
No. I've got 6. I've got 6 changes.
A lot of changes.
And so these new players won't necessarily have too much of an eye on the Wednesday game next week, perhaps. So they'll have the energy. They won't be suffering the mental fatigue of perhaps last night. I've actually gone for a 1-1 draw as well. I just think it'll be difficult. You can't match last night on Saturday. I'm almost glad it's 5:30 kickoff, so the floodlights will be out, so it might have a little bit more of an energy about it.
I mean, lunchtime kickoff.
Yeah, I know, absolutely. And yeah, people have had a few more bevies before the game, so I don't know what the weather's like on Saturday. Is it sunny? Might be. I don't know.
Who knows?
Who cares?
I'm more concerned about the weather in Madrid.
What is the weather in Madrid?
I don't know. Although someone was telling me yesterday that they're going on holiday in Portugal next week, and that's supposed to rain, so we could have a wet trip to Madrid. But I don't care.
No, because you're going for the football now. Now that the football's now there's a chance Arsenal are going to win.
Hey,
whereas there was no chance before. You were just going for the experience, the
tapas, the food.
Yeah. Now it's all about the football.
Yeah, exactly.
Isn't it funny the inner workings of the football fan?
Well, I've said many times, psychologically scarred. My pessimism is safeguarding. I remember being 4-0 down in 20 minutes against Liverpool. I remember being, 5-0 at half-time against Chelsea.
4-0 up against Newcastle.
Well, yeah, let alone all that.
4-2 up at home to Spurs going into stoppage time and still not winning the game.
Champions League semi-finals that have gone before they've even really started. Or was it
Champions League final?
Champions League. Well, yeah, I mean, that late one was a killer.
I just think it's written in the stars, Barcelona in Munich to make up for Barcelona in Paris.
We shall see.
Just one little thing that came out a bit later. All the core members of Arsenal's backroom team have signed extensions to their contracts to coincide with Arteta's. And someone else broke that Arsenal have open talks with Ranieri about an improved deal. There are ongoing talks with Skelly and Saka. And so, yeah, all good signs. I must say, the one thing about last night that I did think as well at the time, I might have said it out loud here as well, is that other players looking at that performance, and I mean about top level players, will be thinking, who back themselves, who'll be thinking, I can make that team even better. And look what they just did to Real Madrid. Yeah. And that's not to be sniffed at. It's that perception.
Soft power.
We are perceived as an
elite team.
A destination club.
Yes.
Not a stop off on the way club, a destination club. This is, people will have ambition to play for Arsenal. Not to play for Arsenal on the way to Madrid or Barca, but to come to... I'm not saying every player, obviously, but...
Well, we said when we during the international break, when Berta arrived and we were talking about his priorities, and I can't remember I think it was you and Chris certainly sort of echoed it, that signing up Saka and extending his contract, the star player, the knock-on effect that will have within the squad for people to want to stay and for other people outside to join is massive.
What striker would not want to play with Saka?
They look at that chance that he put that cross in, Gyökeres, Isak, Sesko, they're all going, I'd have been there. I'd have been there. And so, everyone's looking at that and, like you say, destination club. I like that. Good. Or destination Madrid first. Sorry, have I mentioned that I'm going to Madrid next week?
Are you going to Madrid?
Yeah, I know, right? Can't wait.
Wow, did not know that. I'm going to County Mayo and just as happy. I have no idea where I'm going to see the game, however.
Oh, no.
I'll have to pop over to me.
But you will see the game, right?
No, I will. The Spurs supporting mate.
Good.
I might risk it, seeing as we're 3-0 up. But bit of jeopardy, perhaps. Anyway, right. My voice has just about made it through. That's nothing to do with being at the game. You sound fine, so that's good. Right. Well, you and Chris will take over for the next couple of pods, looking at Brentford, looking ahead to Madrid, where you're going, and looking back at easy qualification to the semi-final of the Champions League. So enjoy those chats, gentlemen. And thanks for listening. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time in a few days. Take care. Bye-bye.
Adios.
Amigos.
The North Bank, an Arsenal podcast. Subscribe, rate and review on your app, and find us on Twitter, Instagram and TikTok at North Bank Pod. Email hello@thenorthbankafc.com and check out our website, thenorthbankafc.com. Produced by The Podcast Company.